Have you ever pretended to be something you're not, just to survive? Have you ever told a lie so big that it spiraled completely out of control? This is the story of Emma Taylor, a brilliant jewelry designer who made one desperate claim that changed her life forever. She told everyone she was dating billionaire tech mogul Alexander Hayes, a man she'd never met, a man who'd been overseas for years, a man whose face nobody even knew. What Emma didn't know was that fate was about to play the cruelest and most beautiful trick on her. Because Alexander Hayes was closer than she ever imagined, and their story? Well, it started 20 years ago with a promise between two children that neither of them forgot. Before we continue, I would like to plead that you subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Hope you have subscribed. The morning started like any other toxic day at Madison Design Studio in Manhattan. Emma sat at her drafting table, her fingers stained with ink, her eyes tired from another late night perfecting her jewelry sketches. At 28 years old, she was one of the most talented designers at the studio, though you'd never know it from how she was treated. "Hey, Piggy Emma, did you bring us donuts today?" Victoria Chen's voice cut through the studio like a knife. Several designers laughed. Emma kept her eyes on her work. She'd learned years ago that responding only made it worse. Victoria had been tormenting her since she'd started at Madison Design 3 years ago. The bullying had intensified when Emma's mother got sick and needed expensive heart surgery. Desperation made you vulnerable, and Victoria could smell desperation like a shark smells blood. "I'm talking to you," Victoria said, leaning over Emma's desk. Her perfume was overwhelming, expensive. Everything about Victoria screamed wealth and privilege. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels. She didn't need this job. She was here because designing jewelry was fashionable, because it looked good on her social media, because it gave her another stage to perform on. "Sorry, Victoria. I'm just trying to finish this piece for the Anderson account," Emma said quietly. "The Anderson account? Sweetie, I already took that over. Didn't Mr. Madison tell you?" Victoria's smile was vicious. He thought it needed someone with more sophisticated taste. Emma's heart sank. The Anderson commission was worth $50,000. She'd been counting on her percentage of that to help cover her mother's medical bills. Before Emma could respond, Mr. Madison himself appeared. Jonathan Madison, 55 years old, always impeccably dressed, and completely under the thumb of his largest investors. "Emma, Victoria, my office." Now. They followed him into the glass-walled office overlooking the studio. Emma's stomach churned. This wasn't good. "Emma, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go," Mr. Madison said without preamble. He couldn't even look her in the eye. "What? Why?" Emma felt the floor drop out from under her. "The studio is restructuring. We need to make some difficult decisions about staffing." "This is about the Sterling competition, isn't it?" Emma said, suddenly understanding. The Sterling International Jewelry Design Competition was the most prestigious in the industry. The winner would receive $200,000 and a guaranteed partnership with Hayes Global, the tech empire owned by Alexander Hayes that was expanding into luxury goods. "You're eliminating me so I can't compete." "Don't be dramatic." "My boyfriend works for Hayes Global," Victoria interrupted, examining her manicured nails. "He's very close with Mr. Hayes. I mentioned to him that it would be awkward if Madison Design had too many entries in the competition. After all, we wouldn't want to dilute our brand by having multiple designers from the same studio, would we?" "You can't do this," Emma said desperately. "I need this job. My mother needs surgery." "Life is tough, sweetie," Victoria said with mock sympathy. "Maybe you should have been born rich like the rest of us." Actually, Emma heard herself say, surprising even herself, "I don't think you're in a position to threaten me, Victoria. Not when my boyfriend owns the entire Hayes Global empire." The room went completely silent. "I'm sorry, what?" Mr. Madison said. Emma's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode out of her chest. What had she just said? But she was in it now, and desperation pushed her forward. "Alexander Hayes. We've been together for 2 years. I didn't mention it because he values his privacy, but since Victoria is making threats using Hayes Global's name." Victoria's face had gone pale. You're lying. Alexander Hayes has been overseas for 5 years. Nobody even knows what he looks like. There are no photos of him. Exactly, Emma said, her mind racing. Which is how I prefer to keep it. But if you're going to use his company to manipulate Mr. Madison, I think Alexander would be very interested to hear about it. Mr. Madison's expression had changed from dismissive to calculating. Hayes Global was considering a major investment in Madison Design. If Emma was actually dating Alexander Hayes, firing her could jeopardize the entire deal. Well, Mr. Madison said slowly, this certainly changes things. Victoria, perhaps we were hasty. Emma, I apologize. Why don't you take the rest of the day off? We can discuss the competition entry tomorrow. As Emma walked out of the office, her legs shaking, she caught Victoria's murderous glare. She'd just made an enemy for life. But more importantly, she just told a lie so enormous, so completely verifiable, that there was no way it wouldn't blow up in her face. She grabbed her bag and fled the studio, not stopping until she was 3 blocks away, leaning against a building, trying to breathe. What had she done? Alexander Hayes would be at Madison Design within the month to finalize the investment. When he arrived and didn't know who she was, she'd be fired, possibly sued, definitely humiliated beyond recovery. Her phone buzzed. Her best friend Lily, emergency lunch. The usual place. 20 minutes later, Emma sat across from Lily Park in their favorite cafe, a tiny Korean place in Koreatown that served the best bibimbap in Manhattan. Lily was a lawyer for one of the big firms downtown, sharp, practical, and the only person who'd stood by Emma through everything. Okay, explain to me again why you told your entire office that you're dating a billionaire you've never met, Lily said, mixing her rice and vegetables with methodical precision. I panicked. Victoria was getting me fired. I needed that competition money for Mom's surgery. It came out. Emma, this is insane. When Alexander Hayes shows up. I know. Emma put her head in her hands. I've been thinking about it. There's got to be a way. What? You're going to hire someone to pretend to be Alexander Hayes? In what universe does that work? But Emma's mind was already racing. Lily, nobody knows what he looks like. He's been managing Hayes Global from overseas for 5 years. There are no photos of him online, no public appearances. He's famously private. So you're seriously considering hiring an actor to impersonate a billionaire? Just for a week or 2. Just until the competition review period ends. Then I can say we broke up. I'll have the prize money for Mom's surgery, and I'll find a new job somewhere nobody knows about this nightmare. Lily stared at her. This is the worst idea you've ever had. And I was there when you decided to eat that week-old sushi. I don't have a choice. Mom's surgery costs $300,000. Insurance is covering some of it, but not enough. If I don't come up with the money soon... Emma's voice cracked. Her mother was the only family she had left. After her father died when Emma was 10, her mother had worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat, to pay for Emma's art school education. Now she was dying, and Emma was powerless to save her. Unless she won this competition. There's this website, Emma said quietly. For hiring actors for events. Corporate parties, social media content, that kind of thing. I've been looking at profiles. There's this one guy who could work. Emma. I know it's crazy, but I'm out of options. Will you help me? Lily sighed deeply. I'm going to hell for this. But when this blows up in your face, I'm going to say I told you so repeatedly and at high volume. That evening, Emma sat in her tiny studio apartment in Queens, staring at her laptop. The website was called Act Out Pro, and it specialized in providing actors for various events. She'd found a profile that could work. Jason Cole, 29, described as versatile character actor with business expertise and high-end event experience. More importantly, his photos showed a tall, dark-haired man with strong features and an air of confidence. He could pass for wealthy. He could pass for a tech billionaire if no one looked too closely. With shaking hands, Emma sent him a message. Unique opportunity. High-paying role. Confidential. Please contact for details. To her surprise, he responded within an hour. Intrigued. When can we meet? They arranged to meet the next afternoon at a coffee shop in Midtown. Emma spent the entire night rehearsing what she'd say, how she'd explain this absolutely insane proposal. When she arrived at the coffee shop the next day, her nerves were shot. She ordered a latte she couldn't afford and sat at a corner table, watching the door. And then he walked in. Emma's breath caught. Jason Cole was even more striking in person, tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair, sharp features, and intense gray-blue eyes. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from years of training or years of success, she wasn't sure which. He wore an expensive-looking navy suit, which seemed odd for an actor meeting about a potential gig, but maybe he'd come from another job. He spotted her, walked over, and sat down without asking. "Emma Taylor?" "Yes." "You're Jason Cole?" "I am." His voice was deep, cultured. "Perfect. You said this was a unique opportunity." Emma took a breath. "This was it. I need to hire you to pretend to be my boyfriend for approximately 2 weeks. Maybe 3. His eyebrows rose slightly. "That's definitely unique. Not just any boyfriend. Specifically, I need you to pretend to be Alexander Hayes, the CEO of Hayes Global." Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Amusement? She couldn't read it. "You want me to impersonate a billionaire?" "Yes. But hear me out." "I'm listening." Emma explained everything. The competition, her mother's illness, Victoria's threats, the lie that had spiraled out of control. She left nothing out. If he was going to do this, he needed to know exactly what he was getting into. When she finished, he sat back, studying her with those intense eyes. "That's quite a story. I know it's crazy. I know it's probably impossible. But I'm desperate. My mother is dying and I can't." Her voice broke. She steadied herself. "I'll pay you whatever your rate is. I don't have much now, but after the competition." $500, he said. Emma blinked. "I'm sorry. My rate. $500. That's very reasonable. I was expecting much more." "Well, it's an interesting role. I'd like to try it." Something in his expression seemed amused, like he was enjoying a private joke. "Really? You'll do it?" "I will. But I should tell you something first." "Wonderful. Okay, so here's what we need to do." Emma pulled out her phone, showing him photos she'd found of business meetings, tech conferences, the kinds of events Alexander Hayes would attend. "We need to make you look the part. The clothes are good, actually perfect. But you'll need to know some details about Hayes Global, about the industry." "I know quite a bit about Hayes Global already," he said dryly. "Perfect. That makes this easier. Okay, so nobody at Madison Design has ever met Alexander Hayes. He's been managing everything remotely from various international offices. The investment discussions have all been through his team. You just need to show up, act like you own the place, sign some papers, and then disappear back into mystery. Sounds simple enough. There's one more thing." Emma hesitated. "We need to be convincing as a couple. That means being comfortable with each other, being able to talk naturally, maybe some physical contact. Nothing inappropriate. Just hand-holding, maybe an arm around the waist. Couple things." "I think I can manage that," he said, and there was definitely amusement in his voice now. "Great. So when can you start?" "We need to practice before. Right now, if you'd like." And just like that, Emma Taylor found herself with a fake billionaire boyfriend. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that Jason Cole was exactly who she needed him to be. Because Jason Cole was Alexander Hayes. The real Alexander Hayes had returned to New York 3 days ago after 5 years of building his empire from overseas offices. He'd been planning to make a low-key re-entry into Manhattan social circles, to personally oversee the Hayes global expansion into luxury goods. The investment in Madison Design was part of that expansion. And then his assistant Sean had told him about the rumor. Some designer at Madison Design was claiming to be his girlfriend. Alexander's first instinct had been to shut it down immediately. He valued his privacy obsessively. There was a reason there were no photos of him online, no public appearances, no social media presence. In the tech world, anonymity was power. But then Sean had sent him Emma Taylor's employee file. The photo had stopped him cold. It was her. It was Lily. 20 years ago, when Alexander was 9 and living in a borrowed mansion while his father built his fortune, there had been a girl. The daughter of one of the housekeepers, 8 years old, with long brown hair and eyes that were too old for her face. She'd been his only friend that lonely summer. They'd spent every day together. He'd showed her his drawings of fantastical machines. She'd shown him her sketches of jewelry, intricate designs far beyond her years. They'd hidden in the garden, talking about their dreams. His dream was to build something that mattered, to prove himself. Her dream was to design jewelry so beautiful it would make people believe in magic. On the last day of summer, before his father moved them again, he'd given her a necklace, cheap costume jewelry, all he could afford with his allowance. "I'll come back for you," he'd promised. "When I'm grown up and successful, I'll find you again." She'd promised to wait. And then life had happened. His father's company had collapsed. They'd lost everything. Alexander had spent his teenage years climbing back from nothing, building Hayes Global from scratch through a combination of brilliant coding, ruthless business instincts, and sheer determination. He'd never forgotten the girl from that summer. He'd tried to find her, but the estate had changed hands, the staff had scattered, and Lily was far too common a name. He'd almost convinced himself he'd dreamed her. And now here she was. Emma Taylor, formerly Lily Taylor, according to the background check. She'd changed her name as a teenager, according to Sean's research. Something about wanting a fresh start, wanting to leave childhood trauma behind. She didn't recognize him. Of course she didn't. He'd been a scrawny 9-year-old. Now he was 29, 6 inches taller, 40 pounds heavier, carrying the confidence that came from building a billion-dollar empire. But he'd know her anywhere. Even with the adult features, even with the exhaustion in her eyes, even with the weight of the world on her shoulders, it was her. His Lily. And she was in trouble. Sean's investigation had revealed everything. Her mother's illness, the medical bills, the bullying at work, the desperate lie that had backed her into a corner. Emma Taylor was drowning, and instead of reaching out for help, she was about to make everything worse by hiring some random actor to impersonate him. Unless Alexander stepped in first. Which is why he'd created the Jason Cole profile on Act Out Pro 3 days ago. Why he'd made sure his listing appeared at the top of her search results. Why he was now sitting across from her in a coffee shop, watching her explain her insane plan, and falling in love with her all over again. She was still brilliant. Still creative. Still brave in all the wrong ways. And she had no idea who he was. He should tell her. He knew he should tell her. But something held him back. She'd said something that caught in his chest like a thorn. "I need you to pretend to be Alexander Hayes, the tech billionaire who everyone says is all about money and power and has no soul. I hate everything he stands for, but I need his name." She hated him. Or rather, she hated who she thought he was. The cold billionaire, the ruthless businessman, the man who'd built an empire but supposedly had no heart. If he told her who he really was right now, she'd run. She'd be humiliated, defensive, would never trust him. But if he could show her who he actually was, could earn her trust as Jason Cole, could help her without the weight of his name and wealth, maybe then she'd see him. Really see him. It was manipulative. It was probably cruel. But Alexander Hayes hadn't built a billion-dollar empire by always playing fair. "So," Emma was saying, pulling him back to the present, "tomorrow I'll need you to come to the studio. Just to be seen. We won't stay long, but people need to see that you're real, that we're really together." "Whatever you need," Alexander said. "I'm here for you." The gratitude in her eyes was almost painful. "Thank you. I know this is insane, but thank you." "Emma," he said carefully, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why jewelry design? What made you choose that career?" Her face softened. "When I was 8, I made this bracelet out of wire and beads. It was terrible, objectively awful. But my mom cried when I gave it to her. She said it was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever given her. That's when I realized that jewelry isn't just about being pretty. It's about capturing moments, preserving feelings, creating something that connects people." She smiled, but it was sad. That probably sounds silly. It doesn't. It sounds like magic. She looked at him, startled. That's exactly what I used to say when I was a kid. That jewelry should feel like magic. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Alexander thought she might recognize him. But then her phone rang, the hospital, and the moment was broken. As she took the call, her face going pale at whatever the doctor was saying, Alexander made a decision. He'd play this role. He'd be Jason Cole, the struggling actor. He'd help her win the competition, save her mother, earn her trust. And then, when she knew him, really knew him, he'd tell her the truth. He just hoped she'd forgive him. The next morning, Emma stood outside Madison Design Studio, her heart hammering. Alexander, Jason, she corrected herself, she needed to call him Jason, was meeting her here in 5 minutes. They were going to walk in together, let everyone see them, establish the reality of their relationship. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw this plan exploding spectacularly, ending in her arrest, her mother's heartbreak, total ruin. But what choice did she have? Hey! Emma spun around. Alexander stood behind her, looking impossibly good in a tailored charcoal suit. He looked like he'd been born in expensive clothes. You clean up nice, she said nervously. So do you. His eyes were warm as they traveled over her simple black dress. It wasn't expensive, but she'd made it work. Ready for this? No. But let's do it anyway. He offered his arm. Emma took it, feeling the solid strength of him, and together they walked into Madison Design. The effect was immediate. Conversations stopped. People stared. Victoria, who'd been holding court by the coffee machine, literally dropped her mug. Mr. Madison emerged from his office, his face a mixture of shock and desperate hope. Mr. Hayes? Is it really? This is such an honor. We weren't expecting. I wanted to surprise Emma, Alexander said smoothly. His voice had shifted somehow, becoming more commanding, more Emma was impressed. He really could act. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. Please come to my office. We can discuss the investment. Actually, Alexander interrupted, his hand tightening slightly on Emma's, I'm here as Emma's boyfriend first, investor second. I understand she's participating in the sterling competition. Yes, of course. Emma is one of our most talented designers. Mr. Madison's tone had completely changed. An hour ago, he'd been ready to fire her. Now she was the most talented. I'm glad to hear it. I'll be watching the competition closely. Hayes Global has a lot riding on this partnership, and I want to ensure we're working with a company that values genuine talent over politics. The warning was clear. Mr. Madison went even paler. Absolutely. We pride ourselves on meritocracy here. Victoria had recovered enough to approach. Mr. Hayes, I'm Victoria Chin. My boyfriend works at Hayes Global. Perhaps you know him? David Park? He's in your acquisitions department. Alexander's expression didn't change, but Emma felt his arm tense under her hand. Acquisitions. Actually, David Park was let go 3 weeks ago for falsifying expense reports. If he told you he still works for me, he was lying. Victoria's face went white, then red. Emma bit her lip to keep from laughing. Now, Alexander continued, I need to get to a meeting. Emma, walk me out. They left the stunned office behind, walking until they were around the corner and out of sight. Then Emma broke into helpless laughter. Oh my God! Did you see Victoria's face? David Park was let go. That was perfect. Alexander was smiling. I thought it added verisimilitude. How did you even know about David Park? Lucky guess. Men who brag about working for powerful people are usually lying. He paused. Are you okay? That was intense. I'm fine. Better than fine. That was amazing. Emma realized she was still holding his arm and hastily let go. Sorry. Don't apologize. His voice was softer now. Emma, I know this situation is stressful, but I want you to know. I'm not doing this just for the money. I want to help you. But you don't even know me. Maybe I feel like I do. Before she could process that strange comment, he glanced at his watch. I need to go. I'll call you tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. Emma watched him walk away, a strange feeling in her chest. Jason Cole was not what she'd expected. He was kind. Genuinely kind, not performing kindness for an audience. The way he'd shut down Victoria, defended her to Mr. Madison, made sure she was okay afterward. She shook her head. Don't be stupid, Emma. He's an actor. This is a job. Don't confuse performance with reality. But as she walked back into the studio, she couldn't shake the feeling that she just missed something important. Over the next week, Emma fell into a strange new routine. Jason would appear at unexpected times, meeting her for coffee, picking her up after work, once even showing up at the hospital with flowers for her mother. Each appearance was witnessed by someone from Madison Design or someone connected to the fashion world. Their relationship became the talk of Manhattan's social circles. The strangest part was how easy it felt. When they were together, Emma found herself forgetting it was fake. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He knew about architecture, art, music, technology. He asked intelligent questions about her designs, understood the technical aspects in a way that surprised her. "You know a lot about jewelry making for an actor," she commented one evening. They were in her tiny apartment, and she was working on her competition piece while he sat on her threadbare couch, reading a book. "I'm interested in a lot of things," he said. "The best way to understand people is to understand what they're passionate about." "Is that from an acting class?" "Something like that." Emma looked at him, really looked at him. There was something about Jason Cole that didn't quite add up. The way he carried himself. The expensive clothes that seemed genuine, not costume. The casual knowledge of high-end restaurants and events. The way people responded to him when they were out, as if sensing he was someone important. "Jason, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Why are you really doing this? Your rate was ridiculously low. You could make so much more doing other jobs." He was quiet for a moment, his gray-blue eyes studying her. "Do you remember what you said? About jewelry being magic, about connecting people?" "Yeah. I think sometimes people need help. And if you can help, you should. That's all." "That's not all. There's something you're not telling me." "There's a lot I'm not telling you." He smiled slightly. "But so are you, Emma Taylor. Or should I say Lily Taylor?" Emma froze. "How do you? Nobody knows about that." "I did my research before taking this job. You changed your name when you were 15. Why?" Emma's hands were shaking. She set down her tools. "My father died when I was 10. Car accident. Drunk driver. After that, my mom worked herself to death trying to keep us afloat. I watched her slowly break apart. When I was 15, I decided I needed to be someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who could take care of her. Lily was the girl who lost her father. Emma was going to save her mother. I'm sorry. Don't be. It worked. I got through school, got a job, sent money home. Until the medical bills." She shook her head. "Anyway, that's why I changed it. Fresh start." "But you lost something in the process," Alexander said softly. "Lily had dreams. She believed in magic." "You sound like you knew her." "Maybe I did." Before Emma could ask what he meant, her phone rang. The hospital again. With shaking hands, she answered. "Miss Taylor? This is Dr. Martinez. We need to schedule your mother's surgery immediately. Her condition has deteriorated. If we don't operate within the next 2 weeks." "I understand. I'm working on the money. I just need a little more time. I'm sorry, but we can't wait. We'll need payment confirmation before we can schedule the procedure." Emma felt the world tilt. 2 weeks. She needed $300,000 in 2 weeks, and the competition results wouldn't be announced for a month. She was going to lose her mother. She hung up and just sat there, staring at nothing. "Emma, they need the money now. The surgery can't wait." Her voice sounded strange, distant. "I don't have it. I'm going to lose her." "No, you're not. Jason, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." He pulled out his wallet, removed a credit card, and handed it to her. "Use this." Emma stared at the platinum card in her hand. "I can't. This is insane. I can't take $300,000 from you." "Why not?" "Because I don't even know you." Because I can't pay you back. Because... Emma. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. Listen to me. You hired me to play a role. Let me play it fully. Alexander Hayes would pay for his girlfriend's mother's surgery without thinking twice. So that's what I'm doing. But you're not really. The card is real. The money is real. Use it. I'll pay you back. Every cent. I swear. I know you will. Now call the hospital back. Emma called. With shaking hands, she gave them the card information. Within minutes, the surgery was scheduled. Her mother would be okay. When she hung up, she looked at Jason, really looked at him. Who are you? Someone who wants to help. Nobody is this kind. Nobody just hands someone $300,000. Emma, there's something I need to tell you. But before he could finish, Emma's phone rang again. This time it was Mr. Madison. Emma, wonderful news. Alexander Hayes will be attending the Sterling Competition Preliminary Showcase tomorrow. This is huge. You need to bring him as your guest. This could make or break the entire investment. Emma's stomach sank. The preliminary showcase, where all the competition entries would be displayed for early review. She'd completely forgotten about it. She looked at Jason, who was watching her with an unreadable expression. Of course, she heard herself say. We'll both be there. When she hung up, Jason was smiling. Looks like I have another performance tomorrow. You don't have to. I want to. Besides, I want to see your design. Emma glanced at her work table, where her competition piece sat partially completed. It was a necklace, intricate and beautiful, designed to look like intertwined vines and flowers. At the center was a pendant shaped like a compass. It's called Finding Home, she said softly. It's about finding your way back to the people who matter, to the place you belong. Jason's hand brushed the pendant. It's perfect. It's not done yet. I still need. It's perfect, he repeated, and something in his voice made Emma's breath catch. They stood close in her tiny apartment, the air between them charged with something she couldn't name. His hand was still on the pendant, inches from her heart. His eyes were on hers, intense, searching. Jason. My real name, he said suddenly, is Alexander. Emma laughed, breaking the tension. That's a weird coincidence. Is it? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Emma, I should finish this piece, she interrupted, suddenly desperate to escape whatever was happening between them. The showcase is tomorrow. I need to work. Right. Of course. He stepped back, and Emma immediately missed his warmth. I'll let you work. Pick you up tomorrow at 6. Perfect. After he left, Emma sat at her work table, but she couldn't focus. Her mind kept replaying the moment, the way he'd looked at her, the way he'd said his real name was Alexander, and the way her heart had jumped at the words, as if recognizing something her mind couldn't quite grasp. The next evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress for the 100th time. It was the only formal dress she owned, a simple navy sheath she'd bought at a thrift store 2 years ago. Lily had helped her jazz it up with a silver belt and some strategic alterations, but it was still obviously not designer. She was about to attend an event where everyone would be wearing thousands of dollars worth of fashion, and she'd be pretending to date a billionaire while wearing a $30 dress. This was a disaster. The knock at her door made her jump. She opened it to find Alexander. Jason, damn it, she needed to stop thinking of him as Alexander, standing there in a perfectly fitted tuxedo. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. You look beautiful, he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her blush. I look like I'm playing dress-up. You look like someone who doesn't need designer labels to be stunning. He offered his arm. Shall we? The showcase was being held at the Whitmore Gallery in Tribeca, a massive space with soaring ceilings and white walls. When Emma and Jason arrived, the room was already packed with designers, investors, fashion journalists, and socialites. The competition entries were displayed on pedestals throughout the space, each one spotlit like a work of art. Emma's stomach clenched when she saw her piece on display. Finding Home looked small and insignificant compared to some of the other designs, which were massive and theatrical. Stop that, Jason murmured in her ear. Stop what? Doubting yourself. Your piece is the best one here. How would you know? You're not a jewelry expert. I know art when I see it. And I know you. His hand tightened on hers. Trust me. As they moved through the crowd, Emma was hyper-aware of the stares, the whispers. Everyone wanted to see the mysterious Alexander Hayes. Jason played the role perfectly, confident but not arrogant, engaging but not overly friendly. He shook hands, made small talk, and somehow managed to make Emma feel like she was the only person in the room whenever he looked at her. They were examining another designer's piece when Victoria appeared, dressed in a scarlet gown that probably cost more than Emma's rent for a year. Emma. Mr. Hayes. How lovely to see you both here. Victoria's smile was poison. Emma, I have to say, I'm surprised you made it to the showcase. I heard about your mother's condition. Shouldn't you be at the hospital? Emma's chest tightened. My mother is fine, thank you. Really? Because I heard she needed emergency surgery. Terribly expensive, I imagine. How lucky that you have such a generous boyfriend. Victoria's eyes glittered maliciously. Although I have to wonder, what exactly does Mr. Hayes get out of this arrangement? Victoria, Jason's voice was cold, harder than Emma had ever heard it. I suggest you walk away. Now. Or what? You'll have me fired? Oh wait, you don't actually have any power at Madison Design, do you? You're just the arm candy. No, said a voice behind them, but I do have power. They turned to find an elegant older woman in her 60s, wearing a simple black dress and carrying herself with the kind of authority that came from years of commanding respect. Her silver hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon, and her sharp green eyes missed nothing. Mrs. Hayes, Victoria stammered, going pale. Emma's heart stopped. Mrs. Hayes. Alexander Hayes's mother. The real Alexander Hayes's mother. Which meant Jason. Victoria Chin, Mrs. Hayes said coolly, I remember you. You applied for an internship at Hayes Global 3 years ago. We rejected you for falsifying your credentials. And yet here you are, still lying, still manipulating, still causing trouble for decent people. I don't know what you're talking about. Security, Mrs. Hayes said without raising her voice. 2 men in suits appeared immediately. Miss Chin is leaving. Make sure she doesn't come back. As Victoria was escorted out, sputtering protests, Mrs. Hayes turned to Emma and Jason. Her expression was unreadable. Mother, Jason said carefully. Mother. Emma's mind was reeling. Mother. Which meant Jason was. Mrs. Hayes, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper, I can explain. I'm sure you can. But perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private. Mrs. Hayes's gaze was piercing. Alexander, I believe you owe this young woman an explanation. Alexander. Not Jason. Alexander. Emma pulled her hand away from his. You're Alexander Hayes. The real Alexander Hayes. Emma. You lied to me. This whole time, you've been lying to me. I can explain. Explain what? That you thought it would be funny to watch me hire you to pretend to be yourself? That you wanted to see how far I'd go with this insane plan. Emma's voice was rising despite her best efforts to keep it down. I humiliated myself. I told you everything. And you played along like it was a game. It wasn't a game, Alexander said urgently. Emma, please, let me explain. I don't want to hear it. Emma's eyes were burning. She would not cry. Not here, not in front of all these people, not in front of him. Our arrangement is over. Don't contact me again. She turned and fled, ignoring Alexander calling her name, ignoring the stares, ignoring everything except the desperate need to get out of that gallery before she fell apart completely. Outside, the cool night air hit her face. She kept walking, her heels clicking on the sidewalk, her chest so tight she could barely breathe. How could she have been so stupid? How could she not have seen it? All the signs had been there. The expensive clothes. The casual knowledge of Hayes Global. The way people reacted to him. The $300,000 credit card that he'd handed over like it was nothing. And something else. Something deeper. The way he'd looked at her sometimes, like he knew her. Like he'd always known her. A black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, revealing Mrs. Hayes in the back seat. Get in, Emma. Please. I really don't want to. I'm not asking as Alexander's mother. I'm asking as someone who knows what it's like to be manipulated by powerful men. Get in. Let me at least give you a ride home. Emma hesitated, then climbed in. What did it matter now? Everything was ruined anyway. They drove in silence for several blocks before Mrs. Hayes spoke. My son is an idiot. Despite everything, Emma almost smiled. I'm glad we agree on something. He gets it from his father. Brilliant in business, absolutely hopeless with emotions. Mrs. Hayes sighed. But he's not cruel, Emma. Misguided, just manipulative, certainly. But not cruel. He lied to me. He did. But do you want to know why? Does it matter? It might. Mrs. Hayes pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, and handed it to Emma. This is from 20 years ago. The photo on the screen showed two children in a garden. A boy of about 9, scrawny and serious-faced. A girl of about 8, all wild brown hair and mischievous smile. They were holding hands. Emma's breath caught. She knew that garden. She knew that girl. That's from the summer Alexander's father was working on a property deal in upstate New York. Mrs. Hayes explained gently. We were staying at an estate. Your mother was part of the housekeeping staff. You and Alexander spent every day together that summer. Coco, Emma breathed. The memory hit her like a wave. The boy who'd been her best friend that golden summer. Who'd shown her his drawings and listened to her dreams. Who'd given her a cheap necklace on the last day and promised to come back for her. His name was Coco. His childhood nickname. Short for Alexander Cole Hayes. Mrs. Hayes smiled sadly. He never forgot you, Emma. He's been looking for you for 20 years. When he found out you were at Madison Design, claiming to be his girlfriend, he saw a chance to know you again without the weight of his wealth and position between you. So he pretended to be an actor. It was foolish and manipulative, and I told him so. But Emma, I watched you two tonight before Victoria's little scene. The way he looked at you, the way you looked at him, that wasn't an act. Not for either of you. Emma closed her eyes. She remembered Coco. Remembered promising to wait for him. Remembered crying when he left, when her mother told her they'd never see him again, that rich people didn't stay friends with poor people. He should have told me, she said. Yes, he should have. And he will if you give him a chance. But Emma, I need to tell you something else. Mrs. Hayes's expression became serious. Your mother's surgery. Alexander paid for it, obviously. But he also arranged for the best cardiac surgeon in New York to perform it. Dr. Chin, no relation to Victoria, thankfully. Your mother's procedure is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Whether you forgive my son or not, that doesn't change. Why would he do that? Because he loves you. He's loved you since he was 9 years old. Mrs. Hayes handed Emma a small jewelry box. He wanted me to give you this tonight, but I think you should have it now. Emma opened the box. Inside was a necklace, cheap costume jewelry, tarnished with age. The same necklace Coco had given her 20 years ago. He kept it all this time? He kept it. When his father's company collapsed and we lost everything, Alexander was allowed to keep one personal item. He chose that necklace. He carried it through years of poverty, through building his company, through everything. Because it reminded him of you. Of the girl who believed in magic. Emma's hands were shaking. She closed the box carefully. Mrs. Hayes, I don't know what to do. That's up to you. But Emma, one piece of advice from someone who's made many mistakes in love. Don't let pride cost you happiness. My son lied. But he lied because he was afraid. Afraid you'd reject him for being Alexander Hayes, the cold billionaire. He wanted you to know him as just Alexander. Just a man who loves you. The car pulled up to Emma's apartment building. Mrs. Hayes touched her hand gently. Think about it. And Emma? Regardless of what you decide about my son, I hope you'll accept his help with your mother's surgery. She deserves the best care. And you deserve to not carry that burden alone. Emma climbed out of the car in a daze. In her apartment, she sat on her threadbare couch, holding the jewelry box. Alexander had been Coco all along. She remembered that summer with sudden, sharp clarity. The way he'd listened to her dreams. The way he'd never made her feel poor or less than. The way he'd promised to come back. And he had. He'd kept his promise. He'd found her. But he'd lied. Emma opened the box again, looking at the tarnished necklace. With shaking hands, she put it on. It settled against her collarbone, familiar and strange all at once. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alexander. "I'm sorry. I know I should have told you. I was afraid. Can we talk?" Another text. "Your competition piece is beautiful. You're going to win." Another. "I love you. I've loved you for 20 years. I understand if you can't forgive me." Emma stared at the messages. Her head said to block him, to walk away, to protect herself. But her heart remembered Coco. Remembered the boy who'd seen her, really seen her, when she was just a housekeeper's daughter. Who'd believed in her dreams when no one else did. Before she could overthink it, she texted back, "Tomorrow. After my mom's surgery. We'll talk then." The response was immediate. "Thank you. I'll be at the hospital. I want to be there for you." Emma turned off her phone and sat in the darkness, wearing a 20-year-old necklace and wondering if believing in magic made you brave or just foolish. The next morning, Emma sat in the surgical waiting room at Manhattan General Hospital. The surgery had been going for 3 hours. 3 hours of staring at walls, drinking terrible coffee, and trying not to think about everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. She wasn't alone. Lily was there, of course, sitting beside her and periodically squeezing her hand. And across the room, keeping a careful distance, was Alexander. He'd arrived early, had spoken quietly with the surgical team, had made sure Emma had everything she needed. But he hadn't approached her. Hadn't tried to force a conversation. He just sat there, waiting, ready to help if she needed him. It was killing her. "You need to talk to him," Lily said quietly. "I don't know what to say." "How about, 'Thank you for saving my mother's life, you manipulative billionaire'?" Emma almost laughed. "You're not helping." "I'm not trying to help. I'm trying to make you see sense." Lily squeezed her hand. "Emma, he lied. That was wrong. But he also paid for your mother's surgery, supported your career, defended you from Victoria, and looked at you like you hung the moon. You're allowed to be angry and grateful at the same time. I don't know if I can trust him." "Then don't. Not yet. But at least hear him out. You owe yourself that much." Before Emma could respond, the surgeon appeared. Dr. Chen was a small, efficient-looking woman in her 50s with kind eyes. "Miss Taylor? The surgery was a complete success. Your mother is in recovery. She's going to be fine." Emma's knees went weak with relief. Lily caught her, held her up. Across the room, Alexander's face transformed with a smile so genuine and joyful that Emma's chest ached. "Can I see her?" Emma asked. "In about an hour, once she's fully awake. But Miss Taylor, I want you to know, your mother is very lucky. Another few weeks and we wouldn't have been able to help her. You saved her life by acting when you did." "No," Emma thought, looking at Alexander. "He saved her life." After Dr. Chen left, Emma walked across the waiting room. Alexander stood immediately, his expression cautious, hopeful. "Thank you," Emma said. "I don't have better words than that. Just, thank you. You don't have to thank me. I wanted to help." "Because you love me? Or because you felt guilty?" "Both." His honesty surprised her. "Emma, I need to explain. Not here. After I see my mom. But Alexander, we do need to talk. Really talk. No more lies. No more games." "No more lies," he agreed. "I promise." An hour later, Emma sat beside her mother's hospital bed, holding her hand. Julia Taylor looked small and fragile against the white sheets, but her color was better than it had been in months. "Hey, Mom," Emma said softly. Julia's eyes fluttered open. "Emma? Sweetheart, what happened?" "You had surgery. You're okay now. Everything's going to be okay. The cost? Don't worry about the cost. It's taken care of." Julia squeezed her hand weakly. "Your young man? Alexander? It's complicated, Mom. Love usually is." Julia smiled. "But Emma, I've seen the way he looks at you. Like you're the most precious thing in the world. Don't let pride or fear cost you that. Believe me, I know. I loved your father, and we had 10 perfect years before he died. I'd give anything for even one more day. Don't waste the time you have. Emma kissed her mother's forehead. We'll talk more later. Outside the room, Alexander was waiting. He'd brought coffee, real coffee from the good place 3 blocks over, not the hospital cafeteria sludge. Walk with me, he asked. They walked through the hospital gardens, sipping coffee in silence. Finally, Emma spoke. Tell me everything. From the beginning. No lies. So Alexander told her. About the summer they'd met. About his father's company collapsing and the years of poverty that followed. About building Hayes Global from nothing. About becoming successful. About never forgetting the girl from that golden summer. I tried to find you, he said. But you changed your name. I had investigators looking for years. And then Sean, my assistant, told me about the rumor at Madison Design. A designer claiming to be my girlfriend. I looked at your employee photo and I knew. It was you. My Lily. So you created the Jason Cole profile. Yes. I wanted to meet you without the weight of my name and money between us. I wanted you to know me as just me. Not the billionaire. Not the powerful CEO. Just Alexander. That wasn't your choice to make, Emma said. You took away my agency. You manipulated the situation. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. I was afraid. Afraid that if I told you who I was, you'd see me as Alexander Hayes, the cold billionaire, instead of Coco, your friend. Afraid you'd think I was trying to buy you or control you. Afraid you'd run. So instead you lied. Yes. It was wrong. I knew it was wrong even while I was doing it. But Emma, please believe me, my feelings were never a lie. When I said I loved you, when I held your hand, when I looked at your designs and saw the magic in them, that was real. That was always real. Emma stopped walking and turned to face him. I believe you loved me. But I don't know if I can trust you. You lied for weeks. You watched me scramble to maintain this fake relationship, and you never told me the truth. You're right. I don't expect you to trust me immediately. I have to earn that back. Alexander took a breath. But Emma, I need you to know something. Whether you forgive me or not, whether we have any kind of future together or not, I'm here for your mother's recovery. I'm here to support your career. I'm here as your friend, if nothing else. Because 20 years ago, I promised to come back for you. And I keep my promises. Even the ones that take 20 years? Especially those. They stood in the garden, surrounded by the sounds of the city, and Emma felt something in her chest shift. She was still angry, still hurt. But she also remembered being 8 years old, holding hands with a 9-year-old boy, believing in promises and magic. I need time, she said finally. I need time to process this. To figure out what I want. Can you give me that? Take all the time you need. I'll wait. I've waited 20 years. I can wait longer. And in the meantime? In the meantime, I'd like to be your friend. If you'll let me. No expectations, no pressure. Just, let me be in your life. Please. Emma considered. Friends. But Alexander, one more lie, one more manipulation, and we're done. Completely done. Understood. Understood. They shook hands, formal and slightly awkward, and Emma almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Two people who'd known each other as children, who'd spent weeks pretending to date, now agreeing to be friends. But maybe friendship was what they needed. Maybe starting over was the only way forward. I should get back to my mom, Emma said. Of course. Emma, your competition piece. Finding home. It's beautiful. You're going to win. You don't know that. I do. Because I know you. I've always known you. And you, Lily Taylor, who became Emma Taylor, have always made magic. The Sterling International Jewelry Design Competition results were announced 3 weeks later at a gala at the Plaza Hotel. Emma wore a new dress, not expensive, but elegant, purchased with the advance from a commission Alexander had arranged with his personal jeweler. It's not charity, he'd insisted when she'd tried to refuse. Marcus has been looking for a designer for his new collection. I just introduced you. The rest was your talent. They'd fallen into an odd but comfortable friendship over those 3 weeks. Alexander visited Julia regularly, bringing books and flowers and making her laugh with stories from his business travels. He'd text Emma random thoughts or photos of interesting architecture he saw. They'd met for coffee twice, conversations that flowed easily once Emma let go of her anger. She was learning to trust him again. Slowly, carefully, but it was happening. Now, standing in the Plaza Ballroom surrounded by the cream of New York's fashion world, Emma felt her nerves humming. The competition had been fierce. Hundreds of entries, narrowed down to 10 finalists, and tonight they'd announce the top 3. Alexander stood beside her, looking impossibly handsome in his tuxedo. They'd arrived together but carefully maintained their friends' status. No hand-holding, no intimate touches. Just 2 people who happened to be attending the same event. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor with that pacing," Alexander murmured. "I can't help it. This is terrifying." "You're going to win." "Stop saying that. You don't know." "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC interrupted, "please take your seats. We're ready to announce the Sterling International Design Competition winners." Emma's heart hammered as they sat. Around them, the other finalists looked equally nervous. Across the room, she saw Mr. Madison, who'd been alternately praising and ignoring her since the showcase incident. Lily was there too, giving her an encouraging thumbs up. "Third place," the MC announced, "goes to Marcus Chin for his collection, Urban Legends." Applause. Marcus accepted his award, his smile bright with genuine joy. Second place goes to Sarah Williams for her collection, Ocean Dreams. More applause. Emma's hands were shaking. Second place was still a significant prize, $50,000 and a Hayes Global contract. She'd be thrilled with that. She'd be grateful for that. But she wanted first place. Wanted the recognition, the validation, the proof that she belonged in this world. And first place, with a unanimous decision from our judges, goes to Emma Taylor for her piece, Finding Home. For a moment, Emma couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Then Alexander was pulling her to her feet, laughing, and Lily was screaming across the room, and the entire ballroom was applauding. She walked to the stage in a daze. Accepted the trophy, the oversized check for $200,000, the Hayes Global Partnership contract. The MC asked her to say a few words. Emma looked out at the crowd, at all these people who doubted her, dismissed her, underestimated her. Her eyes found Alexander, who was watching her with undisguised pride and love. 2 months ago, Emma said, her voice surprisingly steady, I was desperate and scared and ready to lie my way to this moment. I'm not proud of that, but I'm grateful for everything that happened, because it taught me something important. We all get lost sometimes. We all need help finding our way home. And home isn't a place, it's the people who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. She held up the trophy. This is for my mother, who sacrificed everything for my dreams. This is for my best friend Lily, who never let me give up. And this is for someone who kept a promise for 20 years and taught me that real magic isn't in jewelry, it's in the courage to believe in people. Her eyes met Alexander's again. He was smiling, but there were tears on his cheeks. After the ceremony, after the congratulations and photos and interviews, Emma found Alexander on the terrace overlooking Central Park. Hey, she said. Hey yourself, champion. He wiped his eyes quickly. Sorry, I'm not usually this emotional. Alexander Hayes, feared billionaire, crying at a jewelry competition. It's been known to happen. He turned to face her fully. You were incredible tonight. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything. For the introduction to Marcus, for supporting me through the competition, for being patient while I figured out if I could trust you again. And have you? Figured it out, I mean? Emma took a breath. This was it. The moment of truth. And Alexander, I forgive you. For lying, for manipulating the situation, for all of it. I understand why you did it, even if I don't agree with how you did it. His expression transformed with hope. Emma. But more than that, she continued, pulling the old necklace from under her dress. She'd worn it tonight, hidden beneath her gown. I need to tell you something. That summer, when we were kids, you gave me this and promised to come back. I promised to wait. And I did. Maybe not consciously, maybe not even knowing I was doing it, but I waited. Every relationship I had, something was missing. Some piece that I couldn't name. And now I know why. She stepped closer. I was waiting for Coco. For the boy who believed in my dreams when I was just a housekeeper's daughter. For the man who would pay for my mother's surgery without asking for anything in return. For the person who would keep a promise for 20 years because that's who he is. That's who you are. Emma, I love you, Alexander said, his voice rough with emotion. I've loved you since I was 9 years old. I loved you when I was poor, when I was building my company, every single day for 20 years. And I'll love you for the rest of my life, whether you'll have me or not. Well, Emma said, smiling through her own tears, I guess it's a good thing I love you too. Otherwise, this would be really awkward. Alexander laughed, a sound of pure joy, and pulled her into his arms. They kissed there on the terrace, 20 years of waiting and hoping and believing finally finding its resolution. When they pulled apart, Alexander reached into his pocket. I was going to wait. Give you more time. But Emma, I've waited 20 years. I don't want to wait anymore. He opened a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, not the ostentatious sort you'd expect from a billionaire, but a simple, elegant band with a small diamond surrounded by intertwined vines and flowers. It matched the design of her competition piece perfectly. You had this made, Emma breathed. You designed it, actually. 20 years ago. You showed me a sketch that summer, said it was your dream engagement ring. Kept the sketch. And when you entered the competition, when I saw your design, I realized you'd been working toward this ring your entire career. So I had it made. Emma Taylor, will you marry me? Emma looked at the ring, at this man who'd kept a child's sketch for 20 years, who'd built an empire but never forgotten the girl in the garden. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. He'd always known her, always understood her, even when she didn't know him. So, Alexander said, does this mean I can stop pretending to be your fake boyfriend? You were never fake, Emma replied. You were always real. I just didn't know it yet. 6 months later, Emma and Alexander were married in the same garden where they'd met as children. The estate was different. Alexander had bought it years ago, had kept it waiting for the day he'd find her again, but the garden was exactly as Emma remembered it. Julia Taylor walked her daughter down the aisle, healthy and radiant. Lily was the maid of honor, crying before the ceremony even started. Mrs. Hayes sat in the front row, smiling with approval. And Alexander waited at the altar, looking at Emma like she was the only person in the world. Their vows were simple. Alexander promised to never lie again, to always trust Emma with the truth, to spend every day earning her trust. Emma promised to believe in magic, to remember that they'd found their way home to each other, to never let fear keep her from happiness. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Alexander kissed her, and the garden erupted in applause. At the reception, Mr. Madison approached them somewhat nervously. Mrs. Hayes, I wanted to apologize. For everything. For not supporting you, for not recognizing your talent. It's all right, Mr. Madison, Emma interrupted. Everything worked out as it should. Still, I feel terrible. If there's anything I can do. Actually, Alexander said, his arm around Emma's waist, Hayes Global is establishing a new division, Hayes Luxury. We're looking for a partner company in jewelry design. But we need a firm that values talent over politics, that supports emerging designers, that understands what real creativity looks like. And you thought of Madison Design? Mr. Madison looked hopeful. No, Emma said sweetly. We thought of starting our own company. Madison Design can keep doing what you're doing. We'll do something different. As Mr. Madison walked away, deflated, Emma turned to her husband. That was savage. You loved it. I really did. They danced under the stars, in the garden where their story had begun, and Emma thought about magic. About promises kept and dreams realized. About the difference between what looked like success and what actually mattered. She'd won the competition, built a career, saved her mother, found love. But more than that, she'd found her way home. And home, she'd learned, wasn't a place. It was a person. The person who'd waited 20 years, who'd kept a promise, who'd believed in magic just as much as she had. "What are you thinking?" Alexander murmured in her ear. "That 8-year-old Lily would be so happy right now. 9-year-old Coco definitely is." He kissed her forehead. "I found you again. Finally." "You never lost me," Emma replied. "I was right where I promised to be, waiting for you to come home." And in that garden, under those stars, with that promise finally fulfilled, Emma Taylor Hayes, formerly Lily Taylor, always and forever the girl who believed in magic, lived happily ever after.